All right, let's get right into it. We need to have a serious talk about the state of our world. But this isn't about listing problems we can just go out and solve. This is a diagnosis. We're not looking for a quick fix. We're trying to understand a deep underlying civilizational illness.
And here's the crazy thing, the central paradox we're all living through. It seems like almost every tool we use, every single solution we design to make things better, somehow ends up making the whole situation worse.
You know, it's like our own problem-solving mechanisms have turned against us. They're actually attacking the very things that make our civilization resilient and coherent. It's like a civilizational autoimmune disorder, where the body's defenses start attacking healthy tissue.
So, like any good diagnosis, we have to start with a symptom. And we just saw a huge one, an alarming, recent event that honestly tells us everything we need to know about the nature of this condition.
Now, the critical thing to understand about the huge CrowdStrike outage isn't what happened, but why it happened. This was not a cyber attack. No bad guys involved. This was a system of optimization working perfectly. Automated updates, seamless integration. These were supposed to be features, not bugs. But that very efficiency, the thing designed to keep everything secure and running smoothly, is precisely what made the failure so total, so catastrophic. It was a perfect storm, and we were the ones who built it.
So you see, the CrowdStrike event wasn't just some random fluke. It was a symptom that reveals the whole disease. It lets us make a formal diagnosis. We're not dealing with a bunch of separate crises. We're actually facing a single, unified condition that has three core, let's call them pathologies, the convergent singularities. And when we say singularity, all we mean is a phase transition, a point of no return where the old rules just don't apply anymore, and a new, frankly, kind of incomprehensible logic starts to take over.
Okay, the first pathology. We're calling this the temporal singularity. This is what happens when our systems, our markets, our information flows start operating at speeds that are just plain faster than human thought. The window of time we have to actually make a decision is shrinking to basically zero.
A perfect, scary example of this? The 2010 flash crash. $1 trillion of market value literally vanished and then reappeared in about 36 minutes. And get this. By the time any human trader even had a clue what was going on, the event was already over. We've built systems that have left our own brains in the dust. Now, the second pathology builds right on top of that first one. This is the agential singularity. And no, this isn't the simple story of robots taking our jobs. It's actually way more subtle and insidious than that. It's how we as humans start to unconsciously change our own behavior, our own way of thinking, just to make ourselves more easily understood and more favorable to the algorithms that are running our lives. I mean, think about SEO. It's the perfect example, right? We literally stuff our writing with keywords, we structure our sentences in weird ways, not for human clarity, not for beauty, but so that a non-human system will rank it higher. We are actively twisting our own creativity to please a machine. And that brings us to the third pathology, the risk singularity. This is where our obsession with efficiency just backfires in the most spectacular way. Because in our quest to remove every last bit of waste, things like redundancy, slack, or buffers, we've accidentally created systems that are incredibly brittle. They're optimized to perfection for normal days, but they completely shatter at the first real sign of stress.
You just have to look at the Texas power grid failure back in 2021. It's a heartbreaking case study. That grid was lean, it was efficient, it was optimized for profit down to the last penny. But the second that winter storm hit, that efficiency meant there was zero backup, zero resilience. By trimming all the fat from the system, they also removed its immune system.
And here is where it all snaps together. These three singularities, they aren't separate problems. They feed each other. They create this vicious, self-reinforcing spiral. The need for speed, that's the temporal singularity, forces us to hand over control to algorithms, which then triggers the agential singularity. And then, these automated, hyper-fast, interconnected systems become so tightly wound that they create this massive cascading fragility. And that's the risk singularity. Each one makes the others worse.
So, that's the diagnosis. Temporal, agential, and risk singularities, all feeding each other. But a diagnosis is only half the battle, right? You have to understand the pathogen. So what is it? What's the single engine driving this whole terrifying spiral?
Well, it turns out the pathogen is something we usually think of as our species' greatest strength, our ability to solve problems. Let's break down how the very act of solving a problem has become the source of the disease.
To really get this, we have to go way back to 1865, to an idea called the Jevons Paradox. An economist, William Stanley Jevons, noticed something strange. As steam engines got way more efficient, Britain didn't start using less coal, it used way more coal. And why? Because making coal use more efficient made it cheaper and more useful, which in turn created brand new applications and a massive increase in demand for it.
And that, right there, is the crucial insight. We have fallen headfirst into what we can call a problem-solving Jevons trap. See, we spot a problem and we create a solution, which is really just a way of doing something more efficiently, but in a system like ours that demands constant growth, that new efficiency doesn't solve the problem and let us rest. It just expands the demand. Curing one disease creates the cultural expectation that we must cure all suffering. Inventing faster email just means we get and are expected to answer way more email. We aren't actually solving problems, we are multiplying them.
But believe it or not, the damage actually goes deeper than just our global systems. This relentless, grinding logic of optimization has started to infect the most fundamental tool we have for making sense of the world, our language.
There's a concept in philosophy called hermeneutical injustice. It's a really specific kind of harm, the kind you suffer when you literally don't have the words to describe what's happening to you. The language of optimization is doing this to us. It's making certain, absolutely vital concepts unthinkable. And this is the most critical example of all. In a world whose entire grammar is built on more, better, faster, the simple idea of enough starts to look like a failure. It's stagnation. It's a refusal to grow. It's a bug in the system. The very language we use to define success has no room left for the concept of sufficiency. So, if solving is the pathogen, what on earth is the alternative? We can't just apply another solution. That would be falling into the same trap. What we need is a total reorientation, a kind of therapeutic shift in our entire mindset. We have to learn to move from a logic of optimization to a logic of navigation. And the difference between these two is night and day. Optimization is all about seeking total control, hitting maximum output, and reaching fixed endpoints. Navigation? Well, navigation is different. It's about seeking a safe passage through complexity, not conquering a territory. It aims for enough, not the most. And it doesn't rely on a rigid blueprint, but on what the ancient Greeks called metis, this kind of cunning, adaptive, practical wisdom. It's the intelligence of a seasoned sailor reading the winds, not an engineer following a plan. This leads us to this really powerful and kind of counterintuitive idea. If frictionless, seamless efficiency is the poison, then maybe, just maybe, the antidote is friction. Sometimes we need to intentionally reintroduce a little slowness, a few buffers, maybe even some healthy inefficiencies back into our lives and our systems. We have to start thinking of friction as a form of medicine. So we're left with this fundamental question. The maps we've all been using, the ones drawn by the logic of optimization and control, they aren't just leading us to the wrong destination. They're the reason we're lost in the first place. So the challenge for all of us now is, how do we put down those maps and start learning all over again how to actually navigate?